Welcome to QSR Nation, your weekly dose of food service marketing tips and business strategies for success. Here's your hosts, Josh Anderson, Beth Oots, and Anthony Pierce from the PFSbrands National Headquarters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to QSR Nation. As always, we have Josh, Beth, and Tony here from the PFSbrands National Headquarters in Holt Summit, Missouri to talk about food service marketing and business strategies for success. Today we have the CFO of PFSbrands, Trevor Monnig, here to talk about financial literacy and how you can help your employees become more financially literate and therefore hopefully improve your bottom line. So Trevor, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, good morning everyone. Trevor Monnig here. Basic background about myself is I'm an accountant by education. Been doing accounting and financial work for, I don't want to say how many years. That'll age me a little bit on the air here, so I'll keep that part to myself. But I've got experience across multiple industries with accounting and finance. Love those items, but at the end of the day, I like to say I'm not your traditional accountant. I really like to work with people, work with processes, and look to drive efficiencies and engage employees across the board.
That's exactly right. And so one of the things that we do have that's very special here at PFSbrands is our financial literacy courses. And we make sure that as employee owners, each one of us understand the terms of anything that we need to understand about financial literacy, just so that way we could be more well-rounded employees and understand what each of us do to impact that bottom line. So Trevor, just tell us a little bit about why you think financial literacy is important for every single employee in each of our retailers and all the deli workers that are there.
It's interesting when you think about financial literacy and being knowledgeable about what the goals are in your day-to-day work. So I think that financial literacy is critical to not just deli workers, but across the board, all workers in all spaces. If we don't know what to do to improve profitability or sales or things like that, then we're really shooting in the dark. It's kind of like sending the four of us out to play a game of football and not knowing the rules. Right? We're being put on the field to play, and we really don't have the tools or the understanding of what the rules are to be successful. So I believe that by teaching those rules, we can all become more knowledgeable and engage ourselves better in the business to perform better.
Well, that should keep us all on the same page as well, so we're all moving towards a similar goal so we can have success as a team as well as individuals.
I totally agree. I think speaking the same language and understanding what that language is, so when we talk about net income or bottom lines or top line sales, whatever those things are, we all understand what we're talking about. We can set goals for where we need to be with those items and talk about how we can get there. And then the whole team is aligned and moving in one direction as opposed to pulling in separate ways.
Exactly. Knowing what you can contribute individually to each one of your stores can help tremendously just on your bottom line. Knowing that, I have to sell 10 of this item every day to make sure that we're going to be breaking even and everything else after that is profit. Knowing that as an employee will motivate you to make sure that you are doing everything that you possibly can to make sure that your business is more profitable. How do you think it can improve the overall store's performance just by understanding this financial literacy for everyone involved?
Gosh, I think there's so many ways that touches, financial literacy, just understanding, again, the rules of engagement and how we impact profitability for the deli and the overall store in general. When we start looking at those, you can just kind of go through a few of those accounting terms, really, right? We don't want everybody to be accountants, and that's not the goal here. But to speak some of the language that we need to know to understand profitability and our behaviors, how our behaviors impact profitability is the key. So that might be recognizing that top-line sales, like you said. We need to sell X amount of these items in order to break even. Might think about, well, now I know I need a little bit more, so let's start to do some upselling, right? And maybe we need to know what we're upselling. Should I be upselling this item, or item A or item B, and understanding which one we might be more profitable or more efficient in producing, then we might know which one that we want to upsell. Other items is just generally being aware of expenses. Realize what costs us money and where we can eliminate some of those costs within the operation. It might be supplies, right? It might be in food costs, right? Those are probably generally items that the deli workers aren't as involved with, but they're definitely involved with those supplies and the general operation of that deli. And then, of course, we all talk about waste in the deli. So that's definitely an item that everyone will want to keep an eye on and identify ways to remove or eliminate waste from the operation.
That's a great point. And you brought up supplies, and I know over the years, as employees, and I have, had conversations. There was always kind of like this mythical creature called they that supplied the pens and supplied the bags and supplied the toilet paper and supplied the hand sanitizer and the gloves and everything. And they, that mythical creature out there, never had a monetary accountability tied to it. It just showed up and was there, so it didn't matter if it got taken home or thrown away or whatever, and which contributed to a lot of excessive waste. But that was just a lot of it just because people didn't understand the financial impact to the store that created over a month or a year.
Yeah, Trevor, I think you bring up a good point too about everybody moving in the same direction, whether it's sampling or controlling waste. It's all about pushing the flywheel in the same direction. That really is what financial literacy can do for you.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, Trevor, what else do you think that they need to know, and they being all the retailers, deli workers, anything like that they need to know about being more financial literate? Is it being more about that open book management for every single store out there? I know here at PFS Brands, we follow that. So every single employee basically owns a GL line. That way we understand the impact of every single dollar that's being spent here, whether it's going for a profit or whether it's just going for regular expenses. But what do you recommend that every single person needs to know as a retailer?
Well, I love open book management. You guys know that. I'm a huge proponent. Not everyone is ready to take that leap, and maybe it's not perfect for everyone. However, there's power in the tools there, however far you want to take those tools within your own operation. So, I really recommend just starting with the basics and getting the feel for it. And in general, sharing information. Open book management is about sharing information and letting people be in the know. Mm-hmm. Right? People want to know what's going on, and when we inform them and we listen to them and take ideas and take that to the next level and actually implement ideas along the way, they get these great ideas on how to remove costs out of supplies or how to minimize waste, things like that. They're contributing, and people love to contribute, and all those things lead to engagement. Mm-hmm. And the engagement of those employees day in, day out, every hour, every minute is critical to profitability in any business, including these deli operations.
Well, and if a person feels like they're contributing and they feel like their idea is being listened to, like you said, you're going to stay more engaged, and they're going to feel a little bit more sense of ownership and pride, in doing their, day in, day out job, which I think, it enhances the customer experience because they have a more focused individual there, and it will definitely, I think, impact your bottom line as an owner, just because of the fact that you'll be able to see less turnover because people understand those rules, they understand how to play the game, and then how to execute day to day. And those you'll also see, I think, a more balanced employee because they'll feel that appreciation when you recognize that and let them know that, hey, great job with that, and recognize that waste item. Thanks for bringing it to my attention.
I couldn't agree more. You hit the nail on the head in two spots there, and that's the customer experience. When we have engaged employees, they're excited to do a good job. They're excited to provide a good customer experience for those customers that are walking through. And number two is that employee retention. It's all about them enjoying what they're doing and contributing more than just punching a clock, punching in and punching out. They're really contributing value, and that they like to come to work. And that's a fantastic thing when you see people having fun at work.
Absolutely.
So this is all fantastic information, Trevor, and we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge about all of this. So how would you recommend to start implementing this in your business?
Yeah, great question. It's a daunting task. You start talking about open book management, engagement of people, right? It's huge. Where do you start something like that? And again, it's not for everybody, but engaging employees is for everyone. So I do recommend just taking some real small steps, and that might be just starting by talking with all of your employees and seeing, and let them offer ideas about what the most important pieces are in the deli operation that they need to focus on. Get them involved, make it a high involvement concept so they're really bought into it, and they're providing some of these solutions as opposed to you just handing those solutions to them and telling them what they should do, right? People want to be involved with coming up with those creative solutions. So I recommend starting by talking about it. Just talk about what that might be. From there, maybe narrow that down to a list. Make a list and narrow it down and prioritize it to the top 5 or the top 3 things that it might be. And from there, I think a critical piece is really you have to measure these things. How do we know if we've been successful if we don't measure what it looks like today and we implement some changes? What does it look like next week, next month, things like that? We want to see that improvement, and the employees want to see that improvement too. So I recommend that you brainstorm on some items, prioritize those, and then really start measuring what those look like, implement some ideas for change, and see how they impact, whether it be the sales in the deli operation, the profitability or expense or waste control there. All those things can be measured, and it makes those things come to life and make them very tangible.
Exactly.
Yeah. As we know from personal experience here at PFS Brands, tracking can be so motivating and just help kind of get the ball rolling on a lot of topics you're trying to do.
Yeah, the visibility of those improvements makes a big difference, right? If we go and make improvements and changes, people want to know how it impacted it. And they don't think to ask that. That's a funny thing. So if go ahead and share that. Give them visibility to how their behavioral changes have impacted the profitability or the sales or whatever it might be in that deli. Let them know. Give them all the feedback you can.
Exactly. Well, this is all fantastic information. Trevor, we would love to continue this conversation. Would you mind coming back next week so we can talk a little bit more about financial literacy?
Sounds great. I'd love to come back anytime.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Trevor. And everybody, thanks for listening to QSR Nation this week. For Josh, Beth, and Tony, we'll talk to you next week.
Stop by next week for another QSR Nation episode or visit pfsbrands.com.